Well, hello, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful holiday season and is excited for 2021. I know that there's a lot of hope and hoopla in regards to New Year's, but especially with the coming one. So I wanted to just kick off the January right. You'll see that I put updated things in the event section. I'm going to try to stay consistent in regards to the events and the trainings that we have. So you'll expect from me every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'll dive into a training. And then Thursday, it's going to be really fun. We're going to do a movement class. So we'll move from anywhere from like 15 to 30 minutes. On Tuesdays, what you'll do is you can add in the poll what class you want me to teach on Tuesday. And then Fridays is going to be really fun. And I'm going to answer any questions that you guys have. And you'll see a thread on Wednesday where you can just type in and post the questions that you have for me. Thank you for everybody that submitted questions that when you joined the group. And I'll start to dive into a lot of those. And I'm actually going to base a lot of the trainings for the month of January around your guys' questions. You guys asked some pretty amazing questions, so I'm excited. And a lot of you guys had similar questions too, so that'll be very helpful as I kind of structure some training so we can kind of get to the bottom of the questions that you guys have, especially as it relates to health and wellness, and then what you can just do to be active and stay pain-free and just have your best life possible. So today I wanted to talk about just a little bit about why resolutions don't work and why they don't necessarily equal results. You'll see a lot of, especially during January, it's when there's so many people are talking about boot camps and losing the weight, and it's like almost the sudden January 1 hits and it's like everything. It's like you can just, there's such a high expectation, but there's not a lot of talk about sustainability or just like what the actual plan is actually to get you to the results. And I think there's a lot of missing steps that goes into goal setting. And I think sometimes you'll even hear a lot of people that are like, well, why goals don't even work? Like, don't even set goals. And then how to not get stuck in intention and just stay in intention, but actually get into execution. Because with action, you're actually going to see your results. So hello Lynn, how you doing? Welcome, nice to see you here. So if we haven't met before, my name is Dr. Yvonne Castillo, and I'm a pain-free movement specialist and also a doctor of physical therapy, and I specialize in helping women over 40 take back their active and pain-free and unstoppable lives without relying on any pills, potions, or procedures. So to kick things off and just to kind of talk about, well, why do resolutions not exactly equal results? There are oftentimes when people are setting goals or they're setting resolutions, they're just really big and broad. And one thing that I like when you are setting goals is like to always add like a so that, like I want to say if it's weight loss, or if you want to, a lot of people are like, well, I just want to get stronger in the new year. We're just like, well, what does that mean? Why do you want to get stronger? So that what? So that you can, do you have a goal of a 5K? Are you noticing that maybe when you get on the ground to play with your kids or something that you are having trouble and you're kind of grabbing onto furniture or something, you're not, or maybe that you're not seeing the stamina, that you just can't, go for your long walks that you used to, or that you're hiking, that you're noticing that your legs are giving way. Like, well, why do you want to be stronger? And to really define what stronger means for you. Same thing as a lot of times with weight loss and stuff, where people are like, well, I want to lose weight. I want to eat healthier. And it's just like, okay, well, we need to define what healthier means and actually work backwards. It's helpful to actually set goals and actually work backwards and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Oftentimes people say how do you eat an elephant? You eat it in one bite at a time. So that's a good kind of adage. And then the other thing that resolutions don't work is they lack a framework. And it's this whole like cold turkey mentality of where things are very black and white. And it's like there's this expectation to go from like 0 to 100. And you see it a lot, like with a lot of the boot camps. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. It's like, okay, well, we're going to go from 0. And now we're going to just, go to the gym every single day. I'm going to do an hour every single day. Or people, and it actually, I will go off about boot camps, but they drive me up the wall because people sell them in this quick fix. And the missing pieces, it's just not sustainable. And half the time people don't even enjoy doing it. So again, not a sustainable piece. But the worst problem is there's not like an easing into it and it's not customizable. So people are just like tossed in, and no one's actually even told them how to, like, say, you know, with a lot of the things, there's like a lot of jumping or a lot of running or a lot of squatting or a lot of just intense activities, but no one's actually broken down how to properly do the movements. No one's actually, you know, educated. There's no sort of education about, okay, well, we're acknowledging where you're at right now and kind of helping you build up from there. So there's a big missing piece. Is, like I always say, there's beauty in the basics, and that you're going to see a lot of that, especially in the movement classes that I teach. But as we start to go through the trainings, is really, I'm about empowering you guys to really know what's going on in your body. And I know for some people that, especially if they've been in pain for a while, that sometimes there's a dissociation with their body, or that like their bodies kind of let them down, or that they sometimes, especially if people have an injured area, it's like, well, I exist, and then it's like, oh yeah, then I have this bad shoulder, I have this bad knee, or my body's just, it's almost like it kind of betrayed them, that it's no longer keep up. A lot of times what I say is where you are, like, mentally and spiritually. And that's where a lot of people are, like, they're go-getters and they're ready to go, and it's like they've got goals over here and they're going, you know, at a certain space, but their body's just kind of holding them back, and there's this disconnect, and I'm about bringing all those pieces back together, and hopefully you're going to have fun along the journey. But just to go, that sometimes that can be overwhelming for people when they're like, well, being in tune with your body, and sometimes that's a hard thing. So I acknowledge that, and I want to hold space for you as well. And then another reason why the resolutions don't work is a lot of times you see this, like, set it and forget it type of a thing, where it's like, okay, well, like, if people even get so far as like, oh, I'm going to list out all my resolutions and this is what it is, and then they just kind of forget it. There's no kind of continual check back in. And we'll go over more so as we kind of get into outlining what we want for this coming year. That how you can actually set tangible goals and break them down, so you don't just set them and forget them like oftentimes happens. And then the biggest thing is I think there's this like kind of like that black and white, is like where willpower just doesn't work. And just call it what it is. It's just when people want to just like white knuckle it through it, and just like, I mean, a lot of times you'll see that with diet, where people are like, okay, I'm going to just give up sugar, or no more this, no more that, instead of, and just go like just cold turkey. It just doesn't work. That's why you will always see people like boomeranging around again. And if you're not set up, and I'm going to dive into this more on tomorrow's talk, but in an environment, and you haven't strategically kind of gone through setting yourself up and taking the bite-sized steps when things come, like, say, exercising or something. It's like when it starts to rain or when it starts to get too cold, it's like easy to be like, well, I'm not going to do it today. And then you kind of just fall off a little bit. And then a lot of people were like, well, I've, totally blew, I had a cookie, or I totally blew something. And it's kind of like people just kind of get like, throw up their arms and like, well, it's just like a total lost cause. Instead of kind of giving themselves that grace. And also, I think not putting so much expectations. I think the big part of it too is expectation, is when people have an expectation of when they're going to see results. And oftentimes, I mean, change behaviorally, and not even to get into physiologically. I mean, to establish a new habit is where I like to live, is to focus more on the habits and how we can set up good, sustainable habits that you actually enjoy. That can take anywhere, and you'll hear different schools of thoughts, but they'll say, oh, change can take place in like 21 days. But when you actually think more of the brain science behind, and also the body science behind, kind of having new patterns, you're looking at anywhere from 60 to 90 days, where you now have a solid, established new kind of habit or pattern. And I'm sure you guys have kind of heard, but your beliefs will kind of become your thoughts, and then your thoughts will become your actions, and your actions will become your habits, and your habits become your character, and your character becomes your destiny. So that's a better way to think of it when we think of the smaller things, and how all of a sudden you can turn around, and you're kind of like, oh, where you're at because of those small incremental changes. And some of them, I kind of touched it, but the missing pieces with setting and achieving goals is people go straight for the behavior, and behavior is probably the hardest thing to change. And that's often where you'll be met with resistance, just with external factors and a lot of things when you just try to white knuckle and do change things at the behavioral level, with not really looking holistically, where your kind of mindset is in regards to things that you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, and if more so having a better sense and a clear sense of why you want to achieve your set goal, or what is the result you want, what is the bigger vision for that goal. When we think about being healthier, being more fit, being stronger, being more flexible, why do you want it? What is the bigger vision of that? Is that because you want to have your independence into your 80s? Is it that you want to be able to attend, be able to travel around the world? Like, what is the bigger vision for your life? Because that'll be the motivating factor that's going to get you up to do the day-to-day activities that are going to be actually the things that are going to allow you to be independent, mobile, fit, feeling amazing, and not stuck in a place of where you don't want to be. But again, the harder thing is as you're going through it, the changes are unseen, especially like I tell my clients all the time, when you're living in your body all the time, you don't necessarily notice those small changes, but it will take, other people, oh my gosh, your posture's getting better. Oh my gosh, like you were able to keep up. Like we were able to, I had this woman, she's amazing. She's up in Washington and she hikes. She has a partner who's 75 and she herself is in her 70s. She's having a lot of hip issues and stuff. And now she's at a place where she's out of pain and she's done the work and we're working together, and she says, oh, people notice, oh wow, your pace is a lot better. You're able to sit in the car. We're able to do all these things, but sometimes when you're in it of yourself, you don't necessarily oh, I feel like stronger right away, but you'll once you kind of meet a new challenge, you'll notice it. But the hard part is when you're not getting that kind of gratification or feedback, that it's easy just to be like, oh, what happens if I just miss a day of exercises, or how bad is it really if I don't am not continuous or consistent with it. So that's where having the bigger vision in place and more so kind of tying it to your identity and how you see yourself, is how you identify yourself as, okay, I am a person who values your health. Okay, well, how does a person that value their health, how do they behave? How are they being? What are kind of the characteristics of a person who values their health, who wants to be independent and active with their spouse? Like, how is that person being? What are the choices they are making day to day? How are they dealing with stress? What does their nutrition look like? What does their sleep patterns look like? And their health choices. And that's a bigger thing, is when you just like like a lot of times with smokers, with people, like it's a non-issue if you're you're not going to want a cigarette if you're not a smoker, if you don't identify as a smoker. And they've done a lot of studies on that, is how people switch that when they identify no longer, so I'm no longer a smoker, so I don't smoke, instead of just having that draw to like always want a cigarette. So it's an interesting kind of brain-based science, and you'll see me kind of draw that in, because like I said, we are whole beings. We're not just a body, we're not just a mind, and we're not just a spirit. So we're all of those together. And then also another really helpful thing is to kind of future pace your goals as if you've already accomplished them. So, when you're setting up, okay, I want to, if you think of, okay, I want to run a 5K, but thinking of that you've already it's already possible and you've already kind of set and accomplished it, you will start to do the work in the here and now to get yourself there. And when you take that doubt out of it is a very powerful thing. Another thing is just watching how you talk about yourself, watching about, how you say about, oh, I should do something or I can't do something. You're watching your talk and how you talk about yourself, and comparing yourself to other people, or again, I guess the shoulds, and The can'ts are big, and your body will, if you kind of keep repeating those things, it starts to believe it, versus if you come from a place of possibility and that it's 100% and a certainty of something's happening, you'll make it happen. You will take the necessary daily actions to get yourself there. And so how not to get stuck in intention and get into execution. So like I said, vision is a huge thing, and seeing yourself and having that identity and operating from that sense of identity. And also because there's a sense of integrity that comes with identity, is when you don't follow through on something, when you're not in alignment with your identity, that's where it kind of gets broken and stuff like that. And so not being consistent with that and focusing on that vision you have for yourself, and then also who you see yourself as, or who you see yourself wanting to be and who you want to become, is a very, very powerful thing. And then also setting SMART goals. And it's in the blueprint too, but I'll talk about this more later on in the week. But goals that are sustainable, that they can actually be measurable, that they're attainable, that's a big thing. That they're relevant to you, but then they're also time-based. And I think that would be great. I would love to see what you guys have for what are the results you want to achieve in kind of 2021. And that can become in any facet of your life, but especially for health and wellness, and as it relates to becoming pain-free and more active. I would love to see what those are. And if you guys want to share those, that would be great. And then I can kind of know how I can come alongside you and help kind of pave the way and guide you to get there. That would be really fun and fantastic. And declaring it. So if that goes into declaring it is the big thing. When you speak something into being, and then also to say it and to see it. So I love, and that's where journaling is super helpful, or just having a sticky where you can see it. Some people put it on their computer, some people it's on their vanity, but to see it multiple times a day and to speak it multiple times a day. This is something I do, kind of breakfast, lunch, and dinner is good, tie it up into the thing, but to kind of see your goals and what you want to achieve to be the first thing you see in the morning. Not a lot of the negative stuff or getting into the media or social media, but to kind of see it and to speak it. And same thing, midday, to see your goal, to see the result you want and to speak it. And same thing, let that be your last thought of your day, of this is what's happening for me, and to say it and to declare it. And then also too, and this is why I've set up accountability groups for us and partners into there. It's completely changed my life in regards to some of the mastermind business groups, health and wellness groups that I'm in. But when you're in a group and you're surrounded by other people, and people can support you, but also hold your feet to your fire. And it's also helpful because people will have a different perspective, and it's easy to kind of get lost in ourselves, self-talk, or just in our own worlds. And it's really nice to have someone else that's looking out for you, that you can talk to, you can bounce ideas for, or someone just to hold you accountable, saying like, hey, you said that you wanted to get to whatever your goal is. Well, are you being consistent? Are you doing the necessary work to get you to that goal? I mean, that's what friends are, that's what community is, and that's what I want this group to be for you, to be supportive, but at the same time to be an honest place to kind of hold you so that you can go and become and achieve what you want to achieve. I'm not a lot of fluff, and you'll find that here, because I've had the perspective with my work to see what happens as a consequence if people are allowed, and a lot of times they don't know that they're starting to slide with their health. And I can't tell you, it really breaks my heart with so many times when people come to me, and the one thing that's always like, it didn't have to get to this place, and it doesn't have to be that hard. So I don't want that for you. And that's a big reason why I'm putting this group together, is so that through the teaching and the training, that I hope you guys feel empowered, that you learn a lot about your health, learn about the smart things that you can do, but also the most important thing is that you can take action, and that you'll enjoy it too. I want you to enjoy this health journey, and I want you to feel like you own your bodies, and that it's not something that's holding you back, but it's something that will accelerate you forward and help you just enjoy the richness that life is. And then another really thing is to track your goals. And I'm working on putting together a document for you guys. It's one that I use with my private clients, but also I call it like I have a pain tracker and a health tracker. And when you regularly are tracking what you're doing, you can start to see and connect the dots to see either, especially with the pain tracker that I have, like what are the things that are actually contributing to your pain patterns. And then same thing with, the health tracker too, is how you're actually tracking what you're doing, so we can start to fill in the holes, fill in the gaps, but most importantly, connect the dots. And then one thing that I tend to see a lot is people underestimate how significant their pain is sometimes. Just because it's common, it's not normal. Just because everybody has back pain doesn't make it make it normal. Just because a lot of people's knees give out, it doesn't make it normal. And I'm going to be busting a lot of the age myth in the coming trainings too. But that's a big thing, is when you're tracking things and you're seeing also, I always like to live on the positive side of things, but also when you start to track and you start to see the little changes that you're making and how you'll be able to see the changes that they're making in your life, in your mood, in your stamina, your focus, your energy. You're not as fatigued, or you can just be like, oh, wow. And that in and of itself turns around, and that's a motivating factor for you to continue doing those positive activities. And that goes in, we'll go into goal setting a little bit deeper, but that's where breaking up your goals into bite-sized chunks and almost kind of working backwards. That's one of my big things is when I work with one-on-one clients, it's like, okay, well, what is your big goal? Like, what are we trying to work towards? And this, people would ask me all the time, like, well, you've ever fired a client, or has anybody actually ever refused to do the work? And I was like, no, as long as I find out what they want and they have something to work towards, I say, oh, it's just crossing days off a calendar. Like, I can figure out the path and the plan, and we just work backwards. And it's very easy to get there. But if you don't have a why, you don't have something that lights you up, you don't have a goal, whether that's playing basketball, going swimming, going skiing. If you don't have something to kind of, live for, it's really hard. And it makes it manearly impossible. But when you have that driving why and you're crystal clear on it, it's easy to get. It is very easy to get. And it's just a matter of just mapping out the plan and just working backwards. But that's what also when you break your goals back and you're checking back in, okay, what am I doing today? And checking into yourself and setting up little goals and little markers along the way, daily, kind of reviewing yourself, doing it weekly, and what's your monthly goal? What is your target to get there? And not being as scared to look at that and seeing how you are in achieving that. And when you do that, I think, because sometimes people overestimate, a lot of people overestimate, everybody overestimates what they're capable of. Kind of, I think time-wise, more like, oh, they're not quite spot on. So then when they don't reach it, if they're not constantly checking in with it, then people can sometimes just throw their hands up and kind of just give up on it. Versus if you can course correct, if you're constantly kind of in tune, okay, well, this is where I wanted to be, but I didn't quite get there. Okay, well, why was that? And I think asking the why is a big thing too, because life happens. Not that we use, you want to use it as kind of an excuse and make it a habitual thing, but yeah, life happens. But how can we then course correct so that when external factors may come in, that you can still set yourself up for success? And, whether that's restructuring your day, asking for additional help, but again, that course correction sooner versus then just kind of completely abandoning your goals. That's a bigger thing. So track it. Accountability is huge. Declaring it, saying it, speaking it, seeing it. Those are all really big things to actually make your results become real, and to move away from just like the very loose resolutions that are just like, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to eat better. It's like, okay, well, what does eat better mean? What does that look like? What is the type of person that has better kind of nutritional habits? How are they being? Kind of think of things through that lens. Same thing as when, okay, somebody who's fit, I want to be fit. I want to be, okay, well, what does that look like? Why? Get really clear on why do you want to get fit? Why do you want to get in better shape? And then what does that look like? How is that person being? And be clear on those what those goals are and why. The why. Why do you want to get to those goals? What does that mean to you? What greater vision do you have for yourself? And then also another thing too is the fears. What are some underlying fears that may be there, or what is the cost of you not achieving that end result? What does that mean to you if you don't get to the result that you want? And hopefully for most of you, it's not an option not to get to that result. And if that's your mindset, rock on, and I'm here to support you for that. So I would say, if you can, post your kind of what your goals are, what for kind of 2021 for this month. What are your kind of big goals? If there's a why attached to it, do you have a travel goal? Do you have whatever the goal is it to be walking several miles every single day? I know some people it's playing with their kids. No goal is too big. Trust me, I've helped people where they've had bad knees. The doctors told them they have bad knees, off to doing marathons and Ironman. So anything's possible. Like I said, we just take it one step at a time. So that is today's on goal setting. Tomorrow we'll go a little bit on identifying the gaps. We'll go a little bit into more about how you can set yourself up for success. And then we'll kind of this week we'll be talking about goal setting. And so thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.